I would like to call to order the Johnson County Council meeting this January 13th, 2025. And if we could get a roll call, please. Present.
Here.
Present. Present. Here.
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 I'm going to give an invocation if anyone would care to join me, but before I do, I want to welcome Michelle, our first meeting.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm honored to serve. I really am.
Thank you. Lord, today we lift up in prayer the people of California who are facing this devastating effects of wildfires. We ask for your protection over the firefighters and the first responders as they risk their lives to save others. We ask for comfort for the victims who have lost their homes, loved ones, and livelihoods. Surround them with your peace, provision, and hope in this difficult time. And we ask that your presence be with us in this meeting. Help us to work together in unity and to always seek the greater good for the people we serve. In Jesus' name, amen. If you'd stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda, and we do have some changes. First change is item D8 under the consent agenda, and that basically is hang on, let me get my paper. The DFJC coordinator sent an email stating that their income was $178.17 less than they expected. So they had updated the information in an additional budget form, which changed from the administrative salary stayed the same, the volunteer favors stayed the same. They eliminated operating supplies of $200, and then they changed I'm sorry. Oh, reduced it to 200, okay. And then professional services are 160. Okay.
They reduced operating supplies from 200 to 181.83, and they eliminated professional services.
Okay, backwards. So, and that is under consent agenda, but I did want to point it out that those were the changes of $183.17. And then we have another change. We need to add a salary ordinance revision to G6 under the agenda. Old and new business. And then we have another change.
Is G4 going away?
I think that's where I was headed. Is that Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah. Under G4, the discussion of the edit revenue bonding has been eliminated. And I believe that is all of the changes.
Move to approve as amended.
Mr. Dittmer moved to approve,
I'll second that.
and Melinda seconded. All in favor to approve the agenda as amended? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Next order of business is public comments. I would ask anyone that had public comments to please come to the podium or speak loudly from your seats if you choose to, and it will be limited to 5 minutes. So is there anyone in the audience that has any public comments that they would like to come forward with? Yes, sir. If you could state your name and your address for the record.
Joe Gio, I am
President and CEO of the Indiana Railroad, and my address is 322 East Louisiana Street in Indianapolis. Is that good? Good for the start?
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're from Marion County. Welcome.
I wanted to come tonight, and I thought this was the best place for it. It's the start of the new year. I took over as the president and CEO of the Indiana Railroad in August of last year. Our railroad runs from Indianapolis through Bargersville, through Johnson County, and then turns towards Bloomington, out towards Newton, Illinois. And then we have another line segment that runs from Terre Haute to the Crane Naval Base. More than anything, I want to come and just introduce myself to the county, to the counselors, to the community, and offer myself as a point of contact. I know that we're a big part of the community. We want to do more in 2025, and anything we can do to connect with Johnson County, the community, please, afterwards, after the meeting, let's visit. Please get to know me. I'd like to share my contact information for whoever wants it, and hopefully be a resource to the county for any questions related to our railroad. There's another railroad that comes through Franklin, the LIRC. I wouldn't be able to answer questions for them. But it's great to be here, and please visit with me after this, or let me know if you'd like my contact information.
If you would, please give your contact information to our auditor for the minutes.
Okay,
And
I'll
anyone
do
else
it.
that wants it, we will certainly take it. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience?
There's no one else. I'd like to make just a brief statement. I wanted to give a brief review of what I thought were successes of the council last year. And these are issues by no means solely the council's doing. It was a great collaboration. These were county successes in my mind, which is really kind of the best thing. It's a success not just for any individual person or group, but for the county as a whole. Now, some of these people may or may not agree with me, but the first thing is I think we set reasonable and consistent budget goals for the county, and we adhered to them. And in my mind, that provided stability to the budget process. I think the budget process with the budget workshops went extremely well. I think the workshops were a great idea, and they made the adoption days, you guys can agree or disagree, I thought they made the adoption days go very smoothly. So I thought that was a great success. Something near and dear to me was planning on the budget, on road funding, and thanks to Commissioner Walls and Luke Maston and Pam and John Dittmers and I were on a road funding group, if you want to call it that, and met to talk about kind of, I don't know if jump starting is the right word, but getting moving on some road repairs and maybe even talk about edit revenue funding to help with the extensive road renovations that we need here. It's great fun to meet or to be a part of that. Again, thanks to Commissioner Walls for including us in that as well. I thought that is a big step to get that moving. The county accepted the second round of the health department funding, the Health First Indiana, over $3 million. That's obviously, I think, a big win for the county as well. Money that can go to, such a large amount of money can go to a lot of good uses. Approval of the ClearGov budget software, which I understand is being implemented now and is going to be ready for the next budget process. I think that's going to be a big win for everybody to help the budget process be even smoother and more effective. We got a max levy growth appeal, another one, $1.7 million. Again, a lot of people involved in that, but I think that's a big win for the county. And lastly, we had an approval of an interlocal agreement for the Indiana Opioid Remediation Grant Program, and Melinda here is our representative on that group, and I think that's going to be enormous. $900 million to the state, a lot of money to the county, and just about every county unit is involved in that as well. So I think these were all great successes. I thought it was a very successful county council session last year, and I look forward to 2025.
Thank you.
And I would like to also have my 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Sure,
It
absolutely.
won't be 5 minutes. My name is Melinda Griesmer, Johnson County Council at Large. I just want to say thank you publicly to Pam and John for both of their hard work last year. I have felt personally, again, there'll be some people who may not agree, but I have felt in prior years that the budget process was chaotic and that as a result of it, it caused some animosity. And I'm very grateful for Pam taking the lead and her leadership in coming up with the budget workshop to allow us to work out these issues before the final meeting. And thank you, Pam, for that. And there was a lot of hard work Pam did behind the scenes this year. Whoever is president of the council, they do a lot of work. Again, thank you, Pam and John, for both of your hard work. I look forward, and this is something I always have to remind myself, that Rome was not built in a day, and progress doesn't always happen at once. And I look forward to continued progress in the budget process as we continue to make it better each year. There you go.
I promise I didn't ask her to say that. I promise I didn't ask her to say that. Okay, is there anyone else like to speak? Okay, well, moving on, the next order of business under item B is nomination and election of the 2025 council president and vice president. We were each sent the rules of County Council of Johnson County, Indiana. So before we get started, I want to read how it's going to move forward, and I have asked Tiffany to review those rules, and if I get off path or I make a blunder, to please stop me, because, you know, we don't do this very often. But the rules basically state at the first meeting of every year, we will elect a county council president and a vice president. And I'm going to summarize here, but the bottom line is every member on this council will have the opportunity to nominate a president, someone for president, or someone for vice president. And once we'll do the president first, and once that is complete, we will move on to, after closing the presidential nominations, we will move on to the vice president. We will take a poll, which I would like a roll call vote, so it will be completely clear and we won't have any problems at the end. And you are also only allowed to vote for one person on your vote. Is that the way I understood the rules?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anybody have any questions about what the rules are before we move forward?
There has to be a second.
Yeah?
Yeah. there's a- okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was making sure there's a second. If you make the nomination, have a
Oh,
second.
absolutely. Yes, I did forget to say that. If someone is nominated, there has to be a second before your name can be considered for a vote. And you are not allowed to second your own nomination. Is that it? Okay. And with all of that being said, we will open the nominations for president. And what we will do is we'll start on this side and go, start with Mr. Mallers, and we will look for a first and a second if you happen to have somebody. And then from there, we will move on to each individual to see if in fact they have anyone that they would like to nominate. So with that being said, nominations are open.
I move to nominate Pam Burton for president of the council.
I second that.
So we have a first and we have a second to nominate me for president of the council. I do accept the nomination. And now we'll move on, I am assuming, to Mr. Dittmers, correct? Mr. Dittmers, do you have a nomination for county council president?
I do not.
He does not. Mr. Myers?
I do not.
Mr. Bates? Michelle?
I do not.
I'm sorry, I should have called you Mrs. Graves. I apologize. Do you prefer Michelle or Mrs. Graves?
Either.
We've worked together a long time. I'll call you Michelle Ann.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, with there being no other nominations, we will now close the nominations for president, and we will take a roll call vote.
Michelle Graves,
Aye.
Mark Bates,
Aye.
Jonathan Myers,
Aye.
Pamela Burton,
Aye.
John Mallers,
Aye.
Melody Reesemer,
Aye.
Todd Dimmers.
Aye.
Moving forward to Vice President, I will open the nominations for Vice President, and I will start. I would like to nominate John Mallers for the position of Vice President for 2025. And now I'm open for a second.
Second. I'd second that motion.
We have a second by Mr. Ditmers. And moving to my right, Melinda, you would be one. Would like to nominate anyone for Vice President?
I would like to nominate Michelle Graves for Vice President.
We have a nomination for Michelle Graves for Vice President, and we'll need a second.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Bates. Okay. Mr. Mallers, do you have a candidate you would like to nominate for Vice President?
No.
No addition.
Okay, I'm lost. You are no, and then Mr. Myers is no. Mr. Bates did the second, and Michelle, I'm assuming you will accept the nomination?
Thank you.
Okay. So, need to slow down on this one. I take the first.
Yeah, you have two nominees, so you can do, and they both were seconded, so you can just have a roll call on the first one, that's fine. You can only vote for one vice president, so you can't say yes to both.
Correct. Okay, so it has to be a yes or no vote for everyone, right? So, Amy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
For who?
I'm sorry for the first one. Thank you for Mr. Ditmers. I'm sorry. Mallers. See, you got me all confused. Mr. Mallers, my vote is yes for Mr. Mallers.
John Dittmers,
Yes.
Melinda Griezmer,
So this is a vote for John, right?
Correct.
No.
John Mallers,
Yes.
Michelle Graves,
No.
Mark Bates,
Nay.
Jonathan Myers.
Nay.
Motion failed. 4-3.
So there will be no need for a second vote. So, Michelle, congratulations, you will be vice president.
Thank you, I'm honored. I will serve you well.
Moving on to the next order of business, we have appointments for the Edinburgh Town Council Development Commission. And we had this before, but we postponed it because we didn't have any applicants. But after talking to John Myers, who is the manager for the town of Edinburgh, he has submitted an application and stated that he would take the position for our board appointment, and he would be here this evening, but they also have a town council meeting. So, we have no other applicants, and if you've read the applications, he's more than qualified. So I would be open for a vote for Mr. Myers.
I make that motion.
We have a first by Mr. Bates,
Second.
second by Mr. Ditmers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. The next board for consideration is for Board of Zoning Appeals, and it looks like we have 3 applicants. So I'm going to call your name, and if you are here, please come to the podium and introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit. So the first applicant is Steve Powell, and I believe Mr. Powell was here last month, or you can come on up to the podium if you'd like. No. You'd state your name for the record, please, and your address.
Yes, thank you very much. Steve Powell, live at 2855 Bloomsbury South in White River Township. Been a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for, I wish I could tell you exactly how many years, about 6 or 7 different years. Been honored to serve as an appointment for the Johnson County Council. And again, I submitted my nomination to continue. Currently, our president of the Board of Zoning Appeals is Chris Campbell. And of course, as many of you know, we have two functions. One is to act on variances that come before the board, variances on the current zoning ordinance, and the second function is to act on violations of zoning ordinance. So I submitted my application to continue to serve on that. I'm honored to be appointed to that board, and I would welcome the opportunity to continue as a member of the board. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Powell. Mr. Hudson? Mr. Hudson was here last meeting, I think, and
William Hudson. I reside here in Franklin, 148 West King Street. I have a property out in the country just south and west of Bargersville. Does not have an address in it because we haven't applied for a building permit. As mentioned last meeting, I'm just happy to give back to the community and serve on the board if I can.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate everyone's service and interest. Thank you.
Trying.
Next up is Michael Hoffman.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Hoffman. I have lived in Johnson County since about '94. I have two properties, homes in unincorporated Johnson County, one in White River Township on the north side, and one south of Bargersville. Also have a commercial project that we just did last year at the end of Deerwood on 10 acres. Which I went through our zoning appeals because it was originally turned down and then we did get it approved. I've been commercial real estate for quite a long time as a developer in taking older buildings and redoing them in Marion County and in Beech Grove. I spent a lot of time going before zoning and going through what the regulations take and what has to happen to build and redo large buildings for different uses. And I've got experience in doing it in Marion County with Beech Grove and the city of Indianapolis both. I'd love the opportunity. Most of you know me. I'm the community liaison for White River Township Fire, and I have spare time in my hands with just doing that job. And I'd like to be more involved in Johnson County and help any way I can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone have any questions or any comments?
Could you, Pam, would you mind elaborating on the commitment for that position?
I'm going to have to ask somebody else about the meetings. I'm not sure what it is. The zoning meeting, what curtails?
Would you like me to comment?
No, hang on just a second. No.
He's currently on the board's view.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, please.
I was going to ask him.
Yes, we should have asked you when you were up here. I apologize.
Well, as I mentioned, we have two primary functions. One is to act on variances that come before the county with regards to properties and to act on those. And then the second is to act on any violations that might come before the board of the planning department. And of course, our director of the Department of Planning is Michelle Hansard. So but the appointments, I believe, are on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the other question, or?
What responsibility was it? How many meetings? I think she
Oh, well,
was
we
how many
meet once a
meetings?
month. Yeah.
What
Now,
obligation,
There are
research?
some exceptions where, for instance, if there are no variances that come before the Department of Planning, then we will not have a meeting. But normally, we have a meeting once a month, and it's on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. For instance, I think it's 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from Tuesday. It's when our next meeting,
And where do you meet? Here?
right here. I sit over here in that corner.
Sure.
And
Any other-
it's a yearly renewal?
Again, it's my understanding, when I was first appointed, it was a county council appointment. And I think that is your responsibility to
Right.
make an appointment to the Board of
Right.
Zoning Appeals.
Right.
And as I mentioned, Chris Campbell is the current president of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and we work very closely with the Department of Planning.
Okay, and you've been
Pardon
on,
me?
how long have you been a part of that board?
Well, I will tell you that I first became a member of the board when Beth Boyce was on the council. She was a member of the council, and I believe that she asked me if I would be interested in serving on the board, and I said I'd be honored to serve on the board. And at that time, I can't recall exactly how many years ago she was on the council, but it was at the time that she was on the council when she was kind enough to nominate me, and then the council voted on that. So I've
Okay.
served ever since.
Do you have any other questions, Melinda, or
Nope,
anybody?
that's good. Thank
Any
you
other
for
questions?
explaining.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Will have anything else to say?
I'd just like to say, Madam President, that to me, this is a good thing in terms of we have 3 good applicants. And it seemed like any one of them would do well for what they're doing. But in a situation like this, I personally usually always go with the person who's been there. And if they're doing, and if they continue to want to go there, be there, and serve the community in that fashion. That's kind of where I would go.
Anybody else? Well, if there's no other discussion, then we'll open it for a nomination.
I would like to nominate Mike Hoffman. I know that all the candidates are eminently qualified, and this is simply because I know Mike. I have a great deal of respect for him. I worked for him when I was on the White River Township Fire Department Board. He's one of the most resourceful and creative people I've ever met. He would do a great job in this position.
So Mr. Mallers has made a nomination for
Michael Hoffman.
Michael Hoffman. So any further discussion?
I need a second.
We need, yeah, oh yeah. Any other further discussion? Looking for a second for Mr. Hoffman. I will second that motion. And we will take a vote. All in favor of Mr. Hoffman to be our appointee to the Board of Zoning Appeals, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
So that passes 6-1.
I was an A also.
I'm sorry, so we had 2 nays, Amy. And I will reiterate, thank you so much for everybody applying, and thank you for your service. We're always looking for someone on these boards, and we appreciate your interest. All very qualified. Next order of business is the Emergency Management Advisory Council. That is someone from this council, and we have, or I shouldn't say we, I sent an email out asking if Michelle Graves would be interested to serving on this board, and she has graciously accepted that invitation. So unless someone else on here would like to participate and discuss, I'm going to nominate Michelle to be our
Second.
representative. Did anyone else have anything? So we have a first and a second. All in favor of Michelle on the Emergency Management Advisory Council, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. So, the next order of business is routine matters. It is the consent agenda, and each of these items have been reviewed individually by a single motion. This board approves that the following items, which may include salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. Any items listed on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member and moved to the regular agenda for discussion. There was one item that we did change some figures on at the beginning of the meeting and talked about that earlier, and that was approved. So, open for discussion for the consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Michelle has made a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I had a question on that. Was that not amended, or was it,
It was amended that we spoke of earlier on the $178.17.
so the as presented is as?
As it was amended.
Okay, thank you.
As it was amended, good, yes. Okay, moving on to salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. First up would be innkeeper's tax collection. I believe that's Mr. Kosky.
Yes, thank you. I'm Ken Kosky, Executive Director of the County Tourism Agency. We're at 66 South Water Street. I've been working on our annual report statistics, and I see you have a busy agenda, but basically all of our numbers are up substantially in 2024. I can go over those one by one, or if you want, I'll have the report printed and ready for you the next time I appear before you. It's certainly up to you.
Can you just be general in how much it's gone up?
Yeah, as an example, hotel revenue, 7.4%. Our impressions are up several million. That's our advertising reach. Our free media that we don't have to pay for is doubled. So that's just a few of the examples.
Do you look for the trend to continue?
Yeah, we're optimistic. It's we're on several consecutive years of growth, so in all those categories.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Kosky? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, we have to take a vote on that so he can get his check, right?
Still standing there.
That's why you gave me that look, when I'm so used to just going to the auditor's office the next day and picking it up.
Can we even consider this idea of a repeat presidency? Or
Absolutely, by all means. I will even turn over my pay to you.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the innkeeper's tax collection. I need a second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now you can sit down. And pick your check up tomorrow. Hi, Betsy. Next on the agenda is the County Health Department.
Betsy Swearingen, Director of the Health Department. I'm here today to ask for $43,950 out of our building repair and maintenance. Those are COVID funds for some renovation to the old Health Department building, to move the CAC from the prosecutor's office into that area, to start the first type of collaboration in the state of Indiana to morph a CAC along with ASSIST to help do SANE exams and to do forensic interviews in the county, so our children and our sexual assault victims do not have to travel up to St. Vincent Peyton Manning or out to Avon. It would keep them local. It would be better for our police and responders to be able to do it locally here, and it would better serve the citizens of Johnson County, and other counties would be able to utilize this space as well.
I do have a question, Betsy.
Sure.
In our packet, your request stated that this was work to help remodel the old Health Department building for sublet to ASSIST. But I heard you use some new acronyms tonight that I don't recognize. Could you tell me what those are?
Right, I use the CAC, that's the Child Advocacy Center, and currently it is housed in its location is housed in the prosecutor's office. And it used to fully be run by ASSIST, and then that has slowly transitioned out. It's located there, and we've been asked by the prosecutor's office if that could be relocated. It's a conflict of interest to have it there, and it's a matter, it's just it needs its own separate private location to better serve the citizens. So we are currently paying $5,600 plus a month in rent still at that building. So if we could bring this CIC run by Assist into that, we could sublet that and cut down that cost of rent that we still have.
So question, will then Assist, is Assist the same as CAC, or are they two different entities?
It's two different, it's a CAC that will be run by Assist. So
Okay.
yes, two
Gotcha.
separate.
And does Assist have facilities somewhere else, or are they in the prosecutor's office as well?
No, they're currently on Jefferson Street, and they are on a month-to-month lease and are looking, so it's actually that health department space is very well designed that we can split Assist off and they can run their offices and rent out the north portion of the building, and then the middle portion of the building, for those of you who have been there before, where my office was and our
Yeah.
director of nursing and where our nursing department was, we can renovate those areas that will serve certain rooms privately for the interviewing process, and then the nursing area for the physical exams.
I have one final question.
Sure.
And again, my first meeting, still new, getting used to all this. So
Sure.
you use the word sublet. Does that mean that Assist will be paying the county rent to be in our building that we're renting?
I believe so. I'm not the lawyer in this, so I would defer to Tiffany on that. But yes, I believe that's the case, with then the plans for them to stay there long-term and take over the lease when our lease expires in May of 2026.
Do we know how much money that is per month that they'll be renting? I wonder if that will help offset some of this expense?
Yeah, I think it's around $5,600 per month that was negotiated years ago when we were still in the building. So it's the same rate, and we're negotiating with the landlord at this moment to make sure that they could go in smoothly, do the renovations to be in compliance to be a CAC center.
I think maybe I didn't ask my question clearly enough. Will Assist be paying the county rent to sublet that? So we're out $5,600 a month.
Right.
Will Assist be paying the county back to sublet that building?
Yeah, they would take over the cost of the
They
rent for
would
the
take
building.
over the
Yes.
$5,600 a
Right.
month? I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
I have a question. I'm sorry for my ignorance. What is Assist?
Assist is it's a local agency that serves, they partner with our judicial system. They offer services for any type of trauma-based services, counseling, different kinds of, any assistance needed in the result of a trauma or injury in Johnson County. For the
And
residents
so
of Johnson
I
County,
gather
should say.
from the previous question, they're not a county agency?
They're not a county agency. They're a non-for-profit that started years ago. It's funded by state, they're funded by state grants. And there would be a separate Indiana Department of Health grant that would help them to be able to afford to run this. And then they are looking into CAC grants to then long-term fund this child advocacy center.
What do you mean by fund it? Pay the rent?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And personnel, staff.
Okay. And so this would be $43,950 to renovate a building for a non-county agency?
Yes.
And does we have any oversight on their budget whatsoever? We wouldn't, because they're a non-county agency, right?
The state would have the oversight, the State Department of Health would have the oversight, and then there are oversight groups that help with the funding of these CACs that would be their oversight agencies in them. And then they are also on their other grants that they get, they are monitored, their budgets are monitored yearly.
And all of these people are paid members to be part of that, correct?
I'm
The
sorry.
staff, they all receive paid pay.
Yes, all of
It's
those
part the
staff,
budget.
right, yes, they do.
So this is a capital project. I see a big guy standing behind you there. Is he,
Sure. The reason why we're implementing for this is that we have we've seen a rise in sexual assault and in these types of cases, and they're traumatic to the children and the men and women that they occur to. And currently, we don't have a location within Johnson County that is servicing these people. They can't go to JMH and have this done if they report on site to JMH, and then they'll have to be shipped out to a further location for the exams and the interviews that they need to be removed from, like I said, the prosecutor's office to another neutral location. And it just seems at this time that there are community groups that we could partner with, and we could offer wonderful services that are needed, and we feel that's why we're passionate about this, and to be the only health department that would partner with a non-for-profit that could offer a service that no other county in the state of Indiana can.
And this $44,000 was just laying there and not needed for any other county facility or anything that we as a county unit need?
No one's approached me for it and brought an idea. These are, I hate to use the word leftover COVID funds, but they're leftover funds that we acquired during the COVID pandemic. Funds we had other, funds that we just accumulated because we had other ways to pay for the things that we needed at the time. And we've just been good stewards and sitting on the money until we found something that we thought would be beneficial.
And this is more or less a grant. I mean, you're just giving it to them, correct?
It is, and I think I think that this is going to be an interesting year for all of us with regard to this, because with the HFI funds that we're getting, we've set aside a pot of $600,000 for grant opportunities just like this. So I think that this would just be a good way to kick off the year and partner with those groups that we think could benefit this and provide the services that we don't currently provide, that we need to be providing.
So there are other 501c3s that could come to you for the
Sure.
same type of thing?
Sure, and absolutely.
Are they a viable going concern? I mean, is it reliable that they will be paying the rent and they won't not be paying the rent
Yes.
going forward?
Yes.
Have we had any dealings with them in the past of any kind?
Like I said, the prosecutor's office works with them on a, I don't want to say a daily basis because I don't work in the prosecutor's office, so I can't really say. But I believe our courts work with them very, very frequently, and they do run ASSIST runs the human trafficking organization
Are there any other
within the county.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You
Are
didn't
there
cut me
any
off,
other
you're fine.
situations where the county has given money, grant, loan, something to an organization like this in the past? Has it
Have they paid back?
been paid back?
It's a grant, so they just have to prove that they're using it for the purpose that it was granted.
So would there be
So
any
this-
contracts or any legal manner to hold them to what you're saying here?
This money is for a specific renovation to the building, it's not to
Yeah, we
assist.
won't be funding them in any way,
So,
shape, or form. We
yeah.
won't be giving them any additional money. We're just getting the facility ready so that it meets them, and then they can sublet from us, and we can get out from underneath some of the rent that we
Okay,
still owe.
so if it helps, currently the way that the CAC is run in the prosecutor's office, it's not able to be fully certified because of the lack of space. There has to be very strict restrictions on how these exams are performed. There has to be confidentiality, there has to be interview process. It doesn't make sense to have it in the prosecutor's office. The prosecutors, it creates a huge problem, but if there were really, this service has to be provided, it's vital to the prosecutor and defense attorneys. When you have rape cases, you have child sex crimes that were on the rise during COVID, so that's why it's applicable. This is one of the approved uses of these funds. So sometimes when health departments can't perform the service, they are allowed to partner with third-party providers like 501(c)(3). So there is a state statute that allows this. But this specific one is just to renovate the building that we are still under lease. So it's ours right now.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy program. I think everybody no one on this panel, I think, would be confused as to whether this program was needed or not. It's very beneficial, and to write whatever to assist them. So I don't think that's in question. I think we just want a clear understanding, since we are spending taxpayer dollars.
Understand?
Yeah,
Sure.
and we are accountable to the taxpayers. So,
So will the commissioners oversee this addition, remodel, or whatever?
Yes, the Commissioner Wells will be overseeing that.
Commissioner Walls, do you think it's a good investment?
Yes, Kevin Walls, Johnson County Commissioner. Yes, I do. I've worked with this group, with the prosecutor's office, with Betsy, with Assist, and I'm not going to get into the specific numbers, but they're extremely high. And yes, I feel it's a worthwhile. I don't feel it's right for Johnson County residents to have to go to the north side of Indianapolis to deal with this or go out to Avon to be interviewed at a certified location. Johnson County, I mean, you're talking $44,000 of COVID money that totally qualifies for this issue that we're dealing with, is minuscule in the whole scheme of things to be able to save one child that has been molested. So I'm saying, yes, it is worthwhile. I've been with these people. I've said meetings with them throughout this, and it's cringeworthy.
Okay, I
So-
can appreciate, I think everybody has had something to say except for me, and I have something to say about this. While the mission is fantastic, it's still $44,000 of taxpayer money being spent on a building that we're renting, and we're never going to get that money back. So I think that we need to keep searching and keep looking on how to make this work so that the county will forever be able to benefit from this $44,000. I also have a hard time accepting spending taxpayer money on with a nonprofit organization that we don't have any oversight on. We don't know how much the director of that organization makes. We don't know if they're being honest. Have they paid what the county has given them in the past, if they agreed to pay us back? That's the issue.
I won't get into the past.
But the past is still pertains. Is it the same director? How come they haven't paid us?
Different administrators in the prosecutor's office made those decisions from deferral
Well,
money.
we don't have any oversight. We don't have any control over them.
Understand, I understand.
Chair.
I'm sorry, what was this issue?
Prerogative.
hang on.
Madam Chairman, I call for the question.
I'm sorry?
I call for the question.
Uh-huh.
Well, could I, Mrs. President, can I make a comment?
No, sir, I'm sorry, you cannot.
You cannot tell me I cannot make a comment. I'm a county commissioner. I have a right to make a comment on a Zoom meeting.
Tiffany?
He's presenting not as a member of a public, he's presenting as a commissioner, so.
The only reason I say that, Ron, is because the law as of this year is if you're not presenting, you're not allowed to make a comment on Zoom anymore, but we could consider it as if you were presenting this. So absolutely, I guess according, go right ahead.
Well, the issue here is we have to pay the lease payments until 2026. And if you add that up at close to $6,000 a month, that's $72,000 a year that you're going to expend this year and next year. And by spending the 40-some thousand dollars to do the renovation, you bring somebody in who's going to pay the rent. And so if you take the roughly $144,000, subtract the 43 that Betsy's looking for, you've made $101,000. I can't believe you're even not considering this. This is a no-brainer. We're going to have to pay that lease payment. We're stuck with it until 2006, May of 2006. So we either get somebody in there that can make the rent payment or pay some expenses during this period of time, and we spend $43,000 to do it, or they don't come. We continue to pay $72,000 a year, and it sits empty. Now, you're providing a great service to the county, the people in the county, especially the children. Hey, to me, you're talking dollars. This is a no-brainer.
Thank you, Mr. West. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you mean.
Call for the question.
I don't know what that means.
That means we're going to vote on closing discussion and vote on it.
Okay, whenever I call for anybody else on this council, if they have any other questions or they have anything further they would like to add.
Well, I don't want to bring up bad history, but what were you talking about? Something about something wasn't paid back or something?
Yeah,
What is that? Is that from the assist?
we have to address it.
That's fine. This was not dealings between the commissioners and the health department. But some years ago, a former prosecutor made a decision to give a lump sum of money to assist. There were no strings attached to it, no contract signed, no
That's not what I
payments.
understand.
Well, that's what I've been told legally.
There's
So
no
I'm just,
contract that was given.
there was
up
nothing
from,
signed.
So there's no payback, there's nothing. So the assertion that there's something owed is not true.
So they didn't get it in writing. It was passed by the council at that time. They didn't get it in writing that it was going to get paid back. So it's a
The
gift.
prosecutor asked for their money to
That
be
was a
used.
gift.
Has Board of
For all
Accounts
intents and
had
purposes,
any
it was
comment on
considered
this?
a gift.
Yeah.
There was no comment from Board of Accounts on any audit of this
It's a
issue?
prosecutor fund that they are.
There
approved.
was a finding
Yeah, there-
during the audit for loaning taxpayer dollars.
Yeah,
And she is correct. At the time, I don't believe there was anything done to do a clawback for the money. And there were two disbursements made, $25,054 and $39,704. They were both made in 2019. And to date, the balance on that fund is $61,038.15. And there has been there was no means then for it to be repaid.
Right.
Other than when that prosecutor left, the next prosecutor came in and they did prepare a contract because it was part of the corrective action plan that a contract had to be prepared. But there was no date, there was no signatures, and basically, I was told by the state it wasn't worth the paper it was written on. And the agreement was they would pay back what they could when they could, is my record.
Yeah, and like you said, the prosecutor has great discretion with these funds. That was approved. It was done by the council. We cannot go back and force them to repay something that was never.
Correct. And to date, $3,719.85, I believe, has been paid back toward the, $3,719.85 has been paid back toward the original $64,750.
To be clear, it was for the services that they are providing and saving money to the county. It's not like the money was given and they went on a vacation. This is to start up this service that Johnson County and the prosecutors need and defense attorneys need for these services, is victim advocacy services. So it was given by the prosecutor. That is why, from my understanding. But there's nothing legally to get back. And
I
like-
guess I just have a problem with using taxpayer money and commingling it with an organization that we don't have any oversight for. To me, that doesn't pass the smell test.
Can I speak to that?
Absolutely. Anyone who would like a say is more
First
than
of
welcome
all,
to have a say, and then we'll get to a vote.
Commissioner West, I'm sure glad you were able to speak because that's exactly the path I was going to go down. The economics of this makes sense, which is completely beside the point of the value of the service I think these guys provide, this company, this not-for-profit provides. My question is the CAC is a county, is it, or is it's separate as well?
It's part of ASSIST, isn't it, Betsy? CAC?
No, it's a, and I'm not the expert in child advocacy centers. I'm not going to pretend to be or stand up here and say that I know everything about it. I know it's currently housed. What a CAC does is when you need to do a forensic interview for a child that has been the victim of an assault or trauma, they have to be interviewed. They have to be interviewed in a very specific way. Years ago, ASSIST had that kind of partnership with the prosecutor's office, but then I don't know why that dissolved, because I do know that at the time that ASSIST was taking care of those CAC interviews, they performed many more interviews than in the past 2024. So you have to do them, and they shouldn't be housed in the prosecutor's office. They actually ended up there because the prosecutor's office had like an empty closet and something else. And so we've really been treading on thin ice for quite some time, and we have this location that is currently, currently obtained by Johnson County government as the health department's old area. We are paying rent on it. We do a little bit of work on it. We have a chance to recoup some of the rent that we're currently paying, and we partner with a wonderful agency, a non-for-profit, which is, from what I understand, why they have trouble, paying that money back that they technically don't have to pay back, but in good faith would love to if they could. They don't make any money because they're a non-for-profit. They're
So
not in the
question
business
was,
of making money.
Is the CAC a county entity in itself? If not, who is their umbrella? Who are they under? Do you know?
So it's the Child Advocacy Center. It's a type of service. It's a national alliance for these services, and it's a certification.
Gotcha.
So, and just to be clear, if it helps, there is an agreement, an MOU between us and Assist in order to be our subletter, and part of that is to continue to provide these services for the certification to ensure that you are the representative for Johnson County to be the CAC. That's part of it. It's not, there's no oversight. Like they have to be, they have to continue to get certified. That's a certification that needs to be, I want to say annually, but we can't advertise that we even have a CAC unless they follow this. So
Gotcha.
it's not something that's not going to be checked on.
I mean, just because somebody did it years ago doesn't mean we have to perpetuate it. That was then, this is now. And while they do a good service, there's lots of nonprofits out there that do good services too. Are we gonna help them out? I get that you wanna provide all these services to the people in the county and you wanna do it right now, but sometimes it's best to wait and make sure you can get it right.
I understand that thought completely, but while we're waiting, we are paying $5,600 a month on a site that no one is in. We're paying utilities on it. And if this is a way to help recoup some of that money,
So this building is vacant,
it's vacant. Our suites are vacant in this building.
and is it a lease to own? Or are
No.
we just renting it?
No, we're renting it. This
And
is
how long? How much longer?
until May of 2026.
I guess
That's the point that Commissioner
Yeah.
West brought up.
I guess because they did start to pay the county back, they paid $3,000, Pam?
60 or 80, what was it?
Because they did pay some of that money, then it's understood. They knew they needed to pay us back. And somehow along the way, they just stopped. I question what's going on behind the scenes. I know it's probably different people, management now, but I don't know. I don't want anything to do with them.
Okay, so I think unless someone at this end has further discussion, I think we've covered all the points,
Except for one.
except for one.
Final question. Have the terms been negotiated? Is this going to be a push? Is it going to be dollar neutral as far as the offset to our lease and its utilities and all the
Yes.
expenses going along with it? So it's going to be a push?
Yes.
And there's no net residual left that we have to pay?
Well, only if,
I'm going to say one thing. It is a push. All the paperwork is not complete, okay? But in order for us to move forward, we have to know about this answer so we can move forward to put the deal together. It is not solidified. It is not written in stone yet. Once we get all the proper paperwork in place, is that a true statement, Tiffany? Then we'll do. But we need this as the first piece of the puzzle to move forward. Because I can't move unless this gets approved, period.
So after May of 26, what happens? Do they sign a lease with the landlord?
The intent is for them to sign the lease and continue on with the landlord.
And who oversees the construction on the building? Okay, all right. No further questions? None? It's a tough one. Okay, I think we need another roll call vote on this one.
You need a motion, you need a motion.
Oh, I guess we do need a motion. You guys have got me all messed up here. Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
okay. We do have a motion to approve by Mr. Myers and a second by Mr. Bates. And I would like a roll call in order so we can be clear. I have a question for our attorney. Never mind, I don't. So Amy, if you would go with the roll call vote?
Sean Griggs,
So when we vote, I believe that the council rules allow us to add a comment as to why we're voting the way we're voting. I will vote yes on this. And I understand, I sympathize a lot with what Melinda Griesmer is saying. President Burton, I understand there was this loan that was made that was never going to be paid back. But in the interest, if you want to look at it just as a dollar decision, this is a way for Johnson County to recoup some of that $5,800 a month rent that we're spending out and not getting anything back for it. So I do vote yes.
Ron Bates,
Aye.
Jonathan Myers,
Aye.
Gil Burton.
Oh, my gosh. I would like to recuse myself, but I think that would be the coward's way out. So I am going to reluctantly vote yes.
John Mallers,
It sounds like an incredibly worthy organization. But I think as my role as county council, I have to vote no on this.
Melinda Griesmer,
I'm going to vote no. I promise to defend the taxpayers, and there's something not right with this organization.
John Evers,
Aye.
motion passes 5-2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering all of our questions.
Sure, I'm still here though.
Okay.
Not going.
Sorry,
Would you like to
I
sit,
apologize.
would you like to sit up here?
Okay, this is 2 of 3, right?
Okay, so moving on to item number 3, which is Betsy. And this is for, I believe it looks like, Betsy, you're doing something to cover a last pay?
Yeah,
But go ahead.
Right, it's just to cover the payroll from the crisis, out of the crisis COAG, the school grant. She will, moving forward now in 2025, as of receiving the HFI funds, the HFI funds will be paying for that, but this is to finish up the 2024 year.
Okay. There's no questions. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve?
First by Mr. Mallers,
Second.
second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
And that did not, that included item B as well, correct?
Yes.
And that is retro, Amy, do we need to, we need to amend that for item B?
If it's listed on the agenda as presented, it covers that.
It covers that and retro? Okay, we're good?
Thank you.
Okay, so next up is the opioid restricted fund. It's the Board of Commissioners. And Mr. Walsh, when you are done, I think Melinda's going to talk to us a little bit.
That's fine. I would just,
So-
if you had any questions.
Okay.
So,
So Melinda was going to, I know you're asking for these appropriation of funds, but she's our representative. She was going to speak a little bit
That's
about
fine.
what's going on.
So yeah, the opioid restriction, the funding that was granted to our county to allot as we, as a committee decided. We did have Riley Children's Hospital come in at the end and apply as well, and they were appropriated money, a lot of good money to help these babies. These babies will grow up to be adults, individuals with problems, so early interventions are essential to making their lives the best possible way we can help them with. So Infants in Bloom, $55,000 went to them. Rise Recovery Coalition, $50,000. Upstream Prevention, $50,000. Riley Children's Hospital asked for 25, they were given 50,000. And we'll have, an opportunity for other organizations out there if they wish to apply later on in the year. We don't have the date on that yet. So we look forward to hearing from these organizations how they're doing with these monies. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it was all good.
Mr. Walls, would you care to?
I think it was successful on the first round. We'll just see where it goes. They're all responsible for reporting back to us on what they spend the funds on. So
Okay.
it
All
will be
right.
tracked and taken care of.
Okay.
So, and I believe there is more. Tiffany knows there was another settlement. I don't think we've got the final dollar amount yet, but there'll be even more money added into this
Okay.
pot of money that comes to the county. And we don't have the final numbers on that yet, so.
That's a very good problem to have.
We've stretched it over 15 years. We've split it up and split it over the next at least 15 years, depending on what other monies come in that might be extended for well into the future. So,
Awesome.
Okay.
So if there's no further questions, I'm prepared to take a motion.
I so move.
Mr. Bates made the first motion to approve. as
I'll
presented.
second.
Michelle Graves seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Food and beverage. Welcome.
Good evening.
How
Thank
is our
you.
this is our new Madam Treasurer.
Kim Hamilton, Johnson County Treasurer, thank you.
Glad you could come before us, Kim.
Thank you, I appreciate it. This is something that was started before me and should have been corrected a long time ago. I'm just here to try to get it across the finish line.
Okay.
So, any questions?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be several questions because this is the third or fourth time this has come before the council. So it's something that was originally addressed during budget time. And this board at that time thought that they had given the answer that they wanted to resolve this problem. But I will open it up for anyone who wants to speak, and then we'll get you a vote and get you out of here.
Thank you.
Okay?
I would, for clarification, point out that this is the first request and only request for the additional appropriation. The prior requests and discussions were all about how to fix this and getting it submitted to WIS for review.
Thank you, Michelle.
What was the issue? I wasn't here, of course, at that time of budget hearings. What's the issue or what has been the issue?
I'll let Kim explain.
So the job had been reclassified through a WIS salary study. So it was reclassified from a COMOT 2 to a COMOT 3. So I am asking, the job description has not changed, the duties are the same. So that person has been underpaid for several years doing those duties as a bookkeeper. So I'm asking for the additional appropriations of $3,517 to raise her to the COMOT 3 salary level.
So it's more just a title change? Or do you think-
No, that was done
That's
last
already
month.
been completed. This is
Okay.
for additional
We did that.
appropriations.
I believe the title change was done last month, correct? Through WIS, and then this month asking for additional appropriation to what WIS moved it to.
So WIS, there were, just to kind of catch Ron Bates up to speed, job classifications were asked to be revisited in 2017 or 2018. There was an egregious error made in this particular job description when it was submitted to WIS. The error was not caught until 2024, when council asked for everyone to revisit their job descriptions, and it was caught then. So the fix was to have the job description error corrected and submit for review to WIS to see, is it classified in the scale where it needs to be, or is there a problem? And WIS came back with a scoring that said, yes, it should move from a COMOT 2 pay range to a COMOT 3 pay range. I wasn't able to, I was acting in my capacity as the elected treasurer at the time, and ran out of time before my term was up. So now you have the new treasurer getting this across the finish line based on the WIS review and reclassification.
If I may, I might challenge that a little bit, that you ran out of time. We decisioned this back in November or December, and we basically laid out the plan as to what we were going to do, which was get the descriptions to WIS, get the classifications made, and then if reclasses were appropriate, we would consider those for the 26 budget cycle, not part of the 25. That was clear, I think, and we just keep hearing the same request over and over again, it feels to me like, after we've already decisioned this. I don't understand, there's been no facts that have changed. This is the same set of facts, am I right?
No, this is a new set of facts. The treasurer's office has never presented the additional appropriation request. And if you'll read the minutes from the meeting that you are referencing, I was asked, the treasurer was asked at that time, do you intend to bring this back in January for an additional appropriation request? And the reply was affirmative.
Absolutely.
And so we've never, as a council, addressed the dollar figure. So we have addressed the fact that, yes, the title was wrong. That's been corrected. We've addressed the fact that the classification has been wrong for many years. We fixed that. But the third part of that piece is the salary. The additional appropriation has never been addressed to council before tonight.
And we also, I think, took the position that we were not going to address salary increases for the 25 year. They're going to be deferred to the 26 cycle because we asked for all this to be done by June, sometime in June, so we could have all the information. The process was accelerated, and proactivity is good. That's what happened. I hear what you're saying, and you're exactly right. The question was asked, are you going to come back and ask for a salary increase? And you said yes. To my way of thinking, that's fine, but we'd already decisioned the fact that we were going to consider the increase in the 26 cycle.
I think the point that you might be missing, and this was brought up at the meeting by the county attorney, is that during that reclassification or the request by council to submit new job classification, descriptions, that there were two that stood apart from all the others, that had egregious errors in them that need to be corrected and need to be corrected as soon as possible. These were omissions by the elected officials at that time, and even before the elected officials that have been presenting recently. These errors have been on our books for, 15 plus years. And it just doesn't make good business sense to delay correcting an error that we know is wrong. I mean, this has a financial impact on someone's pocket through no fault of their own. These errors were created by the elected officials, and the elected officials are asking for council to remedy this and not wait another 12, 14, 22 months to address this. And I think the process that council has in place is good, but I will always say that it is not a one-size-fits-all solution, and there will be exceptions that arise. In fact, there are 3 or 4 other exceptions that are very similar to this. And I just think it's time, now that we know it's wrong, it's time to fix it and move on and be done.
Thank you, Michelle.
There were 2 exceptions that we did change, and this is not one of those 2. And I asked, I believe Adam at the time, if this was a similar type issue. He said it was not. So I don't think this is the same egregious issue that those were.
I don't know which other.
Well, there were 2 other things last year that we allowed a salary increase for.
Well,
I can't remember what they are now. I can find it. But
the question by Kim, may I call you Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
Before the council is an additional appropriation in X amount of dollars because a title change was made, which reflects higher pay. So that is the question at hand. That is what we need to vote on at this point.
Correct.
And the discussions we're having now is left over from budget time, prior presentations. Should we do these up front prior going into next year's budget? And what Mr. Dittmer stated was correct. The decision was made, Kim, so you will know that we would correct all of these at budget time coming up this year. And unfortunately, the taxpayers elect us to have an opinion. That opinion may not always agree to the person to my right or the person to my left. That doesn't make anybody wrong. But at this time, I don't know that there's anything else we can present for your request. Your request, as Madam Treasurer, is because of a job reclassification last month, you're asking for the funds to be supplied now and not wait until budget time.
Yes.
Correct? Right? Is that what everybody?
May I?
Absolutely.
So when, a lot of the times, the word "we" comes up, I don't ever remember making a statement myself or hearing the council make the statement that we are not going to take any additional appropriation considered forward. That is why we meet monthly, is to consider these additional appropriations. We're following procedure. We followed the WISP procedure. I believe we're in the right court to make this right. But I'm troubled by the "we decided." Budget time comes around once a year. And to make all of the decisions for 700 employees during that period of time and do them correctly, I don't know how that can be done. And so that's why we're here. We're not only to approve additional appropriations, there are many other things that we need to get to. And I'm very hopeful as a council we can get to those things and get off of these. So I'm in favor of this. I'd like for it to move forward. And if you're ready for a motion, I'll make a motion.
Anyone else have any input? Okay, Mr. Myers has made a motion to approve as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bates has seconded the motion. And Amy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
John Dittmers,
No.
Melinda Griesmer,
I don't know. I need a few more minutes. I'm sorry.
I'm going to
John Mallers,
No, as John Dittmer said, I think these are best suited for the budget process.
Pamela Burton,
No, same reason as the other two gentlemen.
Jonathan Myers,
Aye.
Brian Bates,
Aye.
Michelle Graves,
Aye.
Melinda Griesmer,
Oh, well, here we go. I'm gonna go no. This needs to be at budget time.
Thank you, Kim. And Kim, I'm sorry we got off on such a rough start on your first time before council. Okay, moving on to the next order of business, we have, General Fund, Additional Appropriation, Board of Commissioners. I think that's Mr. West, correct?
Yes,
Good afternoon.
thank you. Couple things there before I start. One, you guys have obviously demonstrated that the council's job is not always easy, and I respect that. I was a part of it for a number of years. And the second thing is I want to thank Melinda and Commissioner Walsh for their work on the opioid funds, especially in the prenatal and neonatal areas. That was a prime concern and importance to me. And so I want to thank both of you for that. I want to start my comments by simply saying that hearing your decision on the treasurer's request, I'm not sure how our request is going to fare in that regard, other than if I ask you your reasoning for waiting for the budget process, I would assume that you think you're going to hear something at the budget time that's going to change your vote. Is that correct?
Are you asking me if I will change my vote at budget time?
Well, I'm asking the 4 no votes there, that when you get to budget time, you're going to hear the same request based on the same information that you currently have. And so my question is, at that time, are you going to vote yes?
Well, I'll go first. I think he's directing that toward me. I'm not sure. For me personally, once the report gets back in from WIS, and I know that you already have that, whatever is recommended by that, we are assuming we will, at that time, we will use those recommendations and increase the salary at that time. And it's not so matter of not doing these two particular ones, it's the many, many others before these requests here that had, the same argument, the same fight. Now, I know you're going to say that these jobs were misclassified and this was a different kind of error, and that's just where we kind of disagree. So that's my answer. My answer will be purely based on what the reports say, the job study says, and that's what they'll make. So
I go back to my original question, but you haven't answered. If at budget time, you get your Wagner-Irwin Shealy report that has the classifications that you're seeking, and the classification indicates that these two individuals, and I'm talking basically about Barb here, there is a correct adjustment in her position, in her classification, and a salary adjustment in accordance. Are you going to vote yes?
I don't know. I guess I'll personally determine that when the time comes. As you said, we meet once.
Well, how about Mr. Mahler's or Melinda or Mr. Dittmer's? I'd like to hear their thoughts there, because it's critically important that we being other elected officials know exactly how we should proceed. And here's my thoughts. The council has said on numerous occasions that they want to incorporate Wagner-Irwin Shealy to do a study that's going to take 6 months, that's going to come back with new classifications or new information to substantiating each person's level of employment. And there's going to be certain salaries based adjustments based on that. And you're going to take those things into consideration, and then you're going to vote accordingly. So my question is, on these two particular individuals, and Barb particularly, if you get 6 months into it, it's budget time, Wagner-Irwin Shealy comes and gives you a report that's favorable to what our request is, are you going to vote yes?
I don't know.
Yes or no? A yes or no answer.
I always hear this. I don't like to engage in hypotheticals,
Right,
but I
right.
will
Can
look
we
at the
consider the
information
re-
and go from there.
Yeah, can we consider the request before us, please?
So the request is that we have an employee who has, through Wagner-Irwin Shealy, which you guys wanted, they have been reclassified with the new job description, and we're asking for a salary adjustment and corresponding to that new salary position. And in fact, we're actually saving the county money because we're withdrawing the $10,000 stipend that was approved last year, and we're asking for about $5,000 adjustment to Barb's salary going forward. Now, if we get to the budget process, you're going to hear the same thing from Wagner-Irwin Shealy that we just got from them. They're not going to change their position in 6 months after we just paid them to do an analysis. So I don't know how you can take and have an employee you couldn't get anybody more dedicated than Barb, 40-some years of working for the county, and ask her to work another 12 months with extended duties that have already been demonstrated and classified by Wagner Owen Shealy and not want to compensate her some $5,000 for it. That's beyond my comprehension, how you can do that. I don't think, I'll just be out here in front, if it was the criminal justice system, I don't think you would deny any of them. If the prosecutor come forward with a new job classification and wanted a salary adjustment, he'd probably get it. The judges would probably get it. The sheriff would probably get it. That's been my experience and what I've witnessed in the past. So we're asking for 2 county employees, dedicated employees, Barbara in particular, 40-some years, and you're asking her to work 12 more months on a decision that you're going to vote yes for, more than likely, in June. I just don't know how you could hold her or any employee off and ask them to do the additional work they're doing without this minimal compensation consideration.
Can I just give a little bit?
Well, I want to make sure he's completely done.
Okay.
Are you done, Mr. West?
Yes, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to give a little background in case anyone wasn't aware. We had last year, as I mentioned earlier in the public comments, we'd had a 5% raise level that we set last year that we adhered to. And for the county attorneys, the commissioners found a state statute that allowed them to circumvent that, and that was fine. So we went ahead and did that. It was approximately $10,000, give or take, to circumvent for the 2 attorneys. And so what it looks like here is, since one of them's gone, they're using that $10,000, and it's a smart move to try to throw some additional money to Barb, who, by all means, deserves it, no question. However, this money was earmarked for the attorneys. It was not something that we wanted to give during the budget process, and so I have to think that this needs to be run through the next budget process and then litigated then.
Okay. Anybody down here have any comments? Anything that we haven't heard or said before?
Clarification, Councilman Mallers brought up the point that 5% raises were given across the board. However, there were exceptions to that in the courts, and 3 assistant directors, all again, public safety. To Ron's point, it does appear there is some bias in the votes that are happening, that certain entities are getting the affirmative votes and admin duties are getting the nay votes. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Mr. Bates?
Not at this time.
Mr. Myers?
No, much the same, I believe, but I think moving forward, this practice, and I know that we talked about this practice of setting a straight percentage, it rewards the highest paid salaries the most, the least paid salaries the least.
Right.
And it creates a larger margin between the 2.
Right.
So when we go forward, and I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be, I strongly suggest to our council that we don't make things quite so simple. Things are never simple, and all these things that we have to consider during the budget process are very difficult. But let's not do a straight percentage next year. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
May I speak, Mr. President?
Yeah, do you mind if I finish
that's
here
fine. I
real
just
quick,
wanna
and
make
then
sure you knew I
we'll
was-
end up with you?
Thank you.
What I'm going to say here is a personal opinion, and I'm 1 vote of 7. So, that's all I am, is 1 of 7. No one wants to make a difference. And I have to agree with what you say as far as the first responders, the courts, the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's office, the people that protect and defend this county. I think there has been a difference. Unfortunately, moving forward, I think there probably always will be a difference in order to protect the people of this county. I think it's going to be required. Hopefully, that will taper off, but the ground record is, in order to keep the officers, the firefighters, the first responders, the sheriff's office. As our prosecutor stated at one point, the first obligation is to protect the people. So unfortunately, I think that may always be a problem, whether we agree with it or not, whether we consider it a problem or not. I think it's probably always going to be first and foremost. I think that they are going to take a slight amount of priority over an administrative position. So I know that's probably not popular, but unfortunately,
It's not only should be popular, it's obvious.
Right, right.
I would
So-
like to add, if I could, please.
Can we let these guys talk first and then we'll come
And I'd
back?
like to comment on,
Okay. Do you have anything that you'd like to say anymore?
Nope.
Not me either. Melinda?
There is a difference in pay, but also law enforcement, they have their lives on the line every day. And people who don't actually have to be out in the weather, they don't have to risk being shot at. I mean, there should be some differences in pay for that.
Mr. Dittmers?
I don't have much, just, this is the second or third time we've heard this. We've kind of been consistent in our response. When I put a name to the position, I don't like it, but objectively, I think we just simply have to create a situation where we, right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what we chose to do, and there needs to be a discipline around how we proceed rather than listening to something every single month and then eventually saying, okay, I guess that's fine. I struggle with that, and I have not heard anything that has changed the set facts that moved me away from where I've been all along. So, do I like it? No. Is that where I am? Yeah. So,
Okay, before we go to Commissioner Baird, Michelle, go right ahead.
I just wanted to respond to a couple of the comments. And while public safety is first and foremost in everyone's mind, and yes, their job duties are different than others, I look at the county as a wheel. In the middle of that wheel, the hub, is the taxpayer. And every office and every county department is a spoke on that wheel. And that wheel needs every spoke to move forward efficiently and with the diligence that it deserves. I lost my train of thought for a minute.
See, it's not just me.
It's not easy. No, and so it's not a matter of that we're paying those entities, the public safety individuals more. The question, the bias that I present to you is that we're giving their requests outside of budget time more attention and positive votes than we are the other department offices. And I think we're all the same spokes on the wheel, and without every spoke, the wheel doesn't turn. That's
Thank
the
you.
point I wanted to make.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Mr. Baird?
Brian Baird, Johnson County Commissioner. And I will agree with what's being said about law enforcement. As everyone knows, I've been a sheriff's deputy, I've been a marshal, so I understand the putting of the life on the line every single day. But I don't understand how we try to classify that with deputy prosecutors and adult probation people. I'm in as much danger every day as a commissioner in this county as those people are. I'm sorry. And I volunteered to put my life on the line for law enforcement. But what I want to get to is the position here, and you're calling this a raise. This is not a raise. These are funds that have already been appropriated. All we're asking to do is to transfer those funds into the position that we said we wanted to transfer these funds into. Those are the people that are helping us with our HR department, so we don't have to hire an HR company at this point in time to work with an HR company that is auditing us to make sure we're doing things right. But those HR practices are being applied by our administrative assistant and our assistant attorney. All we're doing is transferring those funds out of a fund that we said we were going to use for that into those two positions that deserve those funds because they're doing that positional work. You're treating it like it's an appropriation and a raise, and that's not what it is. These are funds that we put in place to utilize for this purpose. And what you're telling us is, and I'm just being honest with you, what you're telling us is we can't use these funds for the purpose that we got them appropriated for, is what you're telling us. And I've got to say it. Is our county administrator as important to us as commissioners as your first deputy auditor is to you as a council? Can you answer that question? I can.
Won't answer that question.
Yes, that position is as important.
I hope you
Maybe
didn't mean
more
that like it
important.
sounded.
No disrespect to anybody. All I'm saying is that position to us is just as important.
Okay.
And that position should be worth at least the same amount as far as salary. And I will leave it at that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Mr. Beard. No one else has any other information or any other input? I'm ready for a motion on this item.
I so move.
So we have a first by Mr. Bates,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Graves. Roll call vote, Amy, please.
Michelle Graves. Aye.
Aye.
Jonathan Myers.
Aye.
Abel Burton.
No.
John Mallers.
No.
Melinda Griesimer.
Based on what Brian Baird said, I liked his explanation. I'll go aye.
John Dittmers.
No.
Passes.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to recall the vote on the treasurers, given that we shouldn't, it's the same request, and we shouldn't penalize the treasurer for being a new presenter versus the presentation that we saw from Brian Baird and Commissioner Walls. I would motion that we recall the treasurer's vote on item E5.
I have no idea how that works, Tiffany.
It's up to you. That's a
Not up
motion
to
on the
me.
floor. Second the motion?
Second. To get it on the floor.
You're going to have to give me instruction on what to do.
She called for a motion to recall and
Okay,
he
and it's
seconded it.
appropriate just to call for any motion at any point on anything.
You don't have any rules that say you can't do that. If you, based on new information, recalling a vote on something that it appears was, she presented it in that way that there was new information on that vote.
Oh, okay.
And I would, since we move on then to further discussion, I would ask all council members, but in particular Councilman Griesmer, to please consider that not everyone can present as well as a Ron West and a Brian Baird. And I feel that perhaps if we'd had those same words under the treasurer's office request, the vote may have gone different. So I would just ask you to please reconsider that.
Oh, no, I think she did great for her first time. I have no issues. You're saying this is money already appropriated to you, and you just want to allot it and put it towards,
Well, it's not,
but this is new,
Hers is new.
it's an additional.
yours is new money, that's the difference. That, I guess I had an issue. This is money they already had, they just need to get approval to disperse it.
So perhaps if we had given the treasurer's office the option to move funds from another line item, this wouldn't be an additional appropriation. It would be a transfer similar to the commissioner's request. With that, if that was the sticking point, I would ask you to consider that as we recall that vote and vote on it again.
So is that what you're gonna do, is do a change?
Well, the treasurer would
That's
have to do
not
that.
up to the council.
Yeah, the treasurer would have to come back and represent and be willing to find that money somewhere within the budget and then offer that for the additional, or the transfer.
You want to revote?
I'm sorry.
There's a motion on the floor, so.
Yes, there is, and she also called for further discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm
So-
saying like,
Yes.
if you want to
So,
discuss.
yeah, absolutely.
If you can find money elsewhere and we just reappropriate it, I don't like the whole idea of new money at this point.
Should we give the newly elected official that option? Because she didn't know that that was an option for her, and none of us thought to present it to her. And then the very next vote, shows the path of how we could have handled that different had she been more seasoned. That's what I base my motion to recall the vote on.
So, at this point, we have to take a vote on a motion to recall the vote, right? We have a first and a second on that. So, for the vote to be recalled, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, aye.
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 And you voted to recall the vote?
Yeah, let's recall that.
Okay.
Let's do a redo on that.
So now, we're going to do a redo after Michelle gets with Kim and instructs her on how to do that. We're going to do that now. We're going to table it till next month.
Why don't we just table it to next month?
I would say we just do it now.
You know where you can find the money?
Can you find, she has a great chief deputy treasurer that can, I would ask, maybe go up there with the newly elected official, and Kelly's very familiar with your budget in the treasurer's office, and I say we just get it done tonight and see what you can come up with.
Kelly Fritz, Chief Deputy Treasurer. Based off of the revote, we would be able to move money from part-time line item, it would be 1157-11400, into the line item requested.
So just to clarify, that would not be an additional appropriation?
It would not
That would
be
be
to-
a transfer?
Correct.
Of existing funds?
I don't know that I've ever felt so strong-armed in my life, ever. So, after that, I have no idea what the vote, what you're asking. Did you get what they were saying? Okay, so someone else want to make a motion, I guess, on what?
I'll make a motion to move money from
Part-time line item.
part-time line item, what's the number?
1157-11400.00000.
Okay, that number, 103, that number.
The amount would be, just to help the newly elected official out, is $3,517, 3517.00. And then I do have a question though, to Kelly and Kim. Does that leave you enough money in your part-time line item, in case you need it, with staff shortages in the future?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh,
I think we needed a second before we got more discussion, but so.
He's trying to cut people off.
Ron wants to go home.
Yeah.
No, I want to get the business done.
Oh,
For
okay.
taxpayers.
We'll go home.
So we have a first and a second for whatever that motion was, and Amy has understood it. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. No. And looks like that passes as well.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else they want to change? Okay. Moving forward, community corrections. Hi.
Hello, Steve Kermode, Assistant Director, Johnson County Community Corrections. We had an issue with our CTP fund. We drained that fund, basically, and I should have caught this at budget time. I did not. It's a fee account. We have another fee account that we can switch this funding from. And it's two supplemental items that we're asking.
I noticed that your cash balance was zero, and I wondered how we missed that. So
Yep.
this is more of a clerical
Yes.
situation? And it's for item 7 and 8?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's a reduction in 7 and then additional appropriation 8.
Right. Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
And we have a motion to approve by Mr. Mallers,
Second.
second by Mr. Dittmers, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Burgess.
Dwayne Burgess, Johnson County Sheriff. On item 9, the general fund for the sheriff, what we are doing is the title change, personnel clerk, change title of the sheriff clerk 2. Then on B, it's computer administrator, change title, IT systems administrator. Not putting names with those, but we needed to have that done just to clarify some items.
Are you using Wiz to do that, or are you doing that on your own?
We're just doing that on our own so it shows on the budget.
Okay.
And later in the budget, or later in the agenda, we are going to be discussing a contract. You're paying for this.
Now we haven't got to that yet.
Okay, which one are you on, number?
We're on number 9.
9,
A
A
and
through
B.
B. Okay.
I do have a question. What drives the need for that change in title? The name?
Simplifies everything within the agency and the budget process.
So is it consistent with others, the name of these people, or is it, are these?
It's their job, what they do daily. Some people have, like, if we go down here to the change title from operations coordinator, that used to be a lieutenant in the jail. We have an IT jail systems specialist. If you guys want to go to 10 and take, well, that's a different one, so you can't do that. But we're just showing what their jobs are within the jail. So logistics coordinator, change title to correctional lieutenant. We have 2 lieutenants within the jail. Then we took 1 lieutenant's position that we had, and that is now an IT person within the jail. Still a corrections officer, but he's not a supervisor. He's an IT person. Does that make sense?
So it's a role change that's
Right.
that's taking place, right?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So it's not part of a greater change of all sorts of different names? It's just, is it just for these?
Makes it much easier for budget time for when we look at it, so when you
can
look
tell.
at it.
Okay.
There were several title changes at budget. These few got missed.
Okay.
Okay.
Much of a difference in what.
Okay, that's item 9, A through D, correct?
Well, A, B, since they're a line item for the sheriff, you'd probably have to take the A, B, then I can explain the other sheriff portion.
But it's the same, okay, but it's the same
purpose
flavor?
that is occurring, yeah.
Okay, any questions about 9A and B for the sheriff?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Mallers, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. If you'd like to talk about C and D?
Okay, C and D, we have a training officer now, but I'd like to add to that training officer, and I'd like to see the council pick up a new training officer's position, although I'm willing to pay for that position this year out of commissary, and I think the auditor's office can bill us quarterly for that position. We have an individual that's currently working at the academy, staff instructor. There's a lot that the academy puts on us right now. We have 220 plus employees that have to be trained. We take care of some of the resource officers within the county also, but this is stuff that just keeps us looking into the future. The commissioners have been great. We have a training center that's state of the art, so we need people to be able to operate that training center to its fullest capacity or potential. And this is something that I would want to pick up in the next budget cycle.
Appreciate you paying for the first year in order to get that person on board now, because I know how rare they are, but that position is to come by. Appreciate you picking that up out of commissary and lighting on the general fund and going forward on next year's budget.
Try to bring you a solution to our problem.
Thank you so much.
Move to approve 9, C and D.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Mallers,
Second.
second by Mrs. Graves. All in, I'm sorry, did you have something? Did I not hear you? Mr. Dittmer seconded, I didn't hear. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it carries.
And then on 10, it's just like the first and 9, the first A and B. A, B, and C is the same as that in number 10, just the title changes.
Motion to approve.
The first by Mr. Myers.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mallers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes.
Thank
you. Okay. Key to music for Mr. Hamner. Mr. Hamner.
He needs walk-up music.
I know.
Do you have a PowerPoint for this?
Well, it's an hour and 20 minutes. Just
Pam loved it.
Thank you.
You know, he had that hand delivered to my house the next day. He really did, a copy of it.
Well, when we want to follow up, we follow up,
There you
right?
go.
First of all, I think what happened, the first thing on here is, I don't know how this happened, but one of our positions just got peeled off, and we just want to put it back on.
Will you state your name and position for the
I
record,
am
please?
so sorry. I was just telling him my head's not in the game because I've been sitting out there. Lance Hamner, Johnson County Prosecutor, thank you.
You've been listening to us, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you're addressing today items 11A through M to begin with. And I have that note in my margin as to how we missed this. And I know you've worked with Mr. Mallers, so I'm gonna.
Well, it was a position that they had in 2024, and it just fell off and did not get included on the budget work papers for 2025. So he's wanted to put it back on.
I do have a question, just for clarification, Mr. Hamner, just to see if there are some glitches in our software that we use for budget processing. Did this line item fall off before you submitted, or did it fall off after it was submitted to the auditor's office?
Do we know? Before?
Thank you.
It was kind of scary.
And this is not money coming from the general fund. This is all coming, or I'll let you.
Yeah, it is general fund.
Well,
But-
yeah, the paralegal position, legal assistant, is something that was in the general fund, and then that's when it fell off. We want to put that back on. Most of those other items on there are just moving funds around that's already in there. So it's not getting nothing new from the general fund.
Okay, okay.
And then there's one other that I will address, and
Okay.
that's the victim assistant position.
Okay, are we still on
The
11?
VOCA grant, here's what I'm glad when we get free money from the federal government, but they do bait and switch. And they'll tell you, you're going to get this amount, and so I come in and say, then we need this amount to, and then they turn around and they pull it away, and so we have to make up that difference or lose that person. So that's what that one is.
Which
And
one
that
is
was
that?
unanticipated.
Which one was that?
I think we've jumped ahead. We need to
Oh.
move back to 11A through M, and then we'll move on to the pre-trial stuff and the VOCA at the end. So, any further questions on the item that was missed at budget time, that was there in the general fund prior to? Item number 11, prosecuting attorney requests retro back to 12/26/24. And this isn't a position you can do without, right?
Move to approve 11A through M.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Mallers, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Number 12, pretrial diversion program. And you're moving funds from this correctly to,
Yeah, this
cover?
is non-general fund money, and it is to pay a position that was approved, but we need this to just pay the rest of that salary. Is that right?
It was a salary, or it was a position that we approved and appropriated in October of '24. for these positions, and it says they expired on December 31.
So, the appropriations revert back 12/31/24. So because of, they moved to a different fund, because that wasn't in budget until 25, it's to cover the last payroll. But actually, we're gonna do 2 payrolls with a split pay, and then it's gonna go to the general.
So this is just because it moved from a different fund, from county general to pretrial. This is having to be done?
Vice versa.
Oh, pretrial to county general?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's continuing on with the position that we've approved. Okay.
And no new money.
No.
Any further discussion? Any questions for Mr. Hamner?
Move to approve 12A through D, A through G.
Yes, A through G. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Mallers.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Ms. Grissomer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to other business. Approval of an ordinance 2025-01. This is an ordinance regarding an additional appropriation by the Amity Fire Protection District. Welcome.
Keith Brandt, Amity Fire Protection. We have a need for new air packs for all of our firefighters. Our air packs are end of life, and we have, we're just requesting the appropriation out of our funds to be able to make that purchase.
I make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a first by Mr. Bates, a second by Mrs. Graves. All in favor, say aye. I'm sorry, we have some discussion down
I just have
here.
a quick question. We're looking at this now in January. Is this something that came up in the last couple of months, or?
It was actually included in our budget. We
Okay.
included a payment plan in our budget of $25,000. But when we went out looking for loans, we realized that we would be in better position if we used our existing cash reserves. And John, I think you'll hear me on this. Your minimum cash reserve is 15%. Our cash reserve, even after this additional appropriation, is still at 50%. So we are well positioned. We've been saving our money. We anticipated buying a fire truck. But because we were able to get that repaired, and we were also able to get the tanker repaired at significantly lower cost, the idea that we should be paying for these air packs outright made more sense, because we're not going to be coming back to you this year asking you for a debt levy. We are not going to be pursuing a debt levy.
So nothing changes the method of pay?
Exactly.
Is what I'm
All we
asking.
want to
Okay.
do at this point is get these new air packs, which we need. Our existing air packs are at the end of their life, and we have the cash balances.
We'll just be paying all of that now as opposed to over the next several years.
Janet, will you state your name for the record,
I'm so
please?
sorry, I just thought I could sneak in. Janet Alexander. I am the fiscal clerk working on behalf of Amity Fire Protection District.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor, but does anyone else have any additional discussion or questions? Not? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good evening. Good night. Library, you're up.
You?
Well, you've been entertained, haven't you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been an awesome night of civic instruction. Thank you.
My name's Lisa Littner. I'm the director of the Johnson County Public Library. I'm here tonight with Kirk Bixler, a board trustee, and also Jody Veldkamp of our marketing department. I'm here just come a couple times a year, give you the updates on JCPL. And for attendees who may not know, there are 3 library districts in Johnson County, one in Edinburgh, one in Greenwood, and we take care of the rest of the county of about 130,000 folks. We're an independent taxing district. You appoint 2, the council appoints 2 of our board trustees. The commissioners appoint 2 of our board trustees. We have 2 trustees from the school board at Franklin and 1 trustee appointed by all the other school districts in Johnson County. While we're an independent unit, Johnson County Council is our fiscal authority, so I like to give you updates on what is happening. Fiscal authority means, for folks in the room, if we need an additional appropriation, not asking for one tonight, or a library bond approval, not asking for that either tonight, you come to the council and seek their approval for those things. Next slide, please. So we just want to share 2024 has been an amazing year at JCPL. We checked out more than 1.4 million items. Majority of those items are things that are on our shelves like books, DVDs, our library of things, which include metal detectors, cake pans, microscopes, telescopes, all sorts of fun stuff. Our digital items continue to grow. With your library card, you have access to literally millions of things you can borrow online. And our visitors are increased last year, 22%. We're really happy about that. And what I'm really happy about is more and more people are getting library cards and using your public library. So we have currently over 55,000 people or households using JCPL. Next slide, please. One thing we're really, really proud of at JCPL is that the Indiana State Library does an annual report. In 2023, we were the 10th largest public library based on population in the state of Indiana, but we ranked 3rd in library attendance. So you have Indianapolis Public Library, you've got the Fort Wayne or Allen County Public Library, and then Johnson County for people attending library programs. You can see here we have done thousands of programs, and just so many people come and are doing learning activities with us. Next slide, please. Our biggest program we do the year is Explore Summer, where we engage people of all ages, but particularly market towards students who are out of school to keep engaged in learning and reading all summer long. We had 6,000 folks participate, and as a community, more than 4 million minutes read together. Next slide, please. A strategic plan update. This is online, so I'm not going to read you the entire strategic plan. This next couple of months, our board will be approving some updates and some new goals, so I will send that to you all via email or in my next quarterly newsletter for you to see. And the next slide, please. But some wonderful things that we're really excited about that we launched in 2024. We expanded our bookmobile service. Tons of people are using that. They're excited to see where the bookmobile is going to be in their neighborhood. We also opened a new dynamic early learning space. That's that top middle picture at the Trafalgar Library. Now Trafalgar branch is a destination in southern part of our county for families to come and learn. There's a new learning garden at the Clark Pleasant branch, and we're teaching folks about local food production, and we have a library seeds you can get free from the library as well and grow your own food. We've been partnering with the IU School of Social Work to host some social work services at our library. That's been really popular over the last several months. We did some enormous eclipse programming where our Space Day had more than 1,400 people show up to it. And then we've also launched meaningful arts experiences called Artist at the Library, where we have local artists come in and do workshops and get people excited about doing art. Last slide, please. The next kind of big thing, we mentioned this the last time we were here, our big kind of facility project is the White River branch. We've completed a feasibility study. We're kind of looking at pre-construction to see exactly what the budget is going to be for that. The major kind of things to note is we are not looking for new property for this. We are not going to build somewhere else. We want to renovate and expand on the current property. That's going to increase our accessibility, particularly for seniors who've told me since I've been here for 10 years that they need a better way to get into the library. An expansion of the children's department because of growing families in that area of White River Township. Tons more study and meeting room space. And then another thing I hear from adults is they want a quiet room to read. So that is all part of this plan, which you guys will hear much more details about further on in this year. But I did want to note that when we come to you and share that, you will get a binder of information. We're going to be reaching out and doing our due diligence with the public and bringing back those findings for you. And when we do come for your approval, it will be tax rate neutral. We are not asking for an increase. And those are my quick updates. Here, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or you're also welcome anytime just to give me a call. You can go to the next slide with my contact information. That also is for anybody in the public. My door is open anytime. Give me a call, give me an email. If you ever want to tour one of our library locations, let me know. I'm happy to do that.
Thanks for hanging out tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, under old and new business, we have the agreement with the sheriff to reimburse the general fund for training officers' position for the commissary fund. So that basically we touched on earlier. This is an agreement that sheriff will be repaying.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Dittmers, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Betsy, are you still here?
I am.
Okay, we have an approval for the 25-26 interlocal mosquito control service contract.
It's just that we re-up with the Marion County Public Health Department's Division of Mosquito Control to spray in unincorporated areas that do not have a mosquito control program in place.
Okay. It's just doing business.
Right, and we, to be quite honest, knock on wood, we had a fairly dry summer and did not use some of those funds this past summer. It was greatly cut back, so maybe we'll, I don't know, with a soft La Nina, probably not. We'll probably have a ton of rain, but who knows? Let's hope not.
Okay, so prepared, are ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
A motion by Mrs. Graves,
Second.
second by Mr. Dittmers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the county liaison list, and I think everybody got a copy of it in their packet. I would suggest you review it. If you want changes or you need changes or there's something you would like to change, send an email to all of us, actually, and we'll get it revised and get it back next month. I strongly suggest everyone continue to reach out to their liaisons. Get a copy of this list from the auditor's office if you need it. So, if someone wants to make a motion, we will approve it as presented and move forward from there next month if we need to make changes.
I would make a motion that we table it to next month, to give everyone time to take a look at it and maybe recommend some changes that are better fits for the county
It makes sense to me too, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mrs. Graves to table the county liaison list until next month, and a second by Mr. Dittmers. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Number 4, the discussion of the edit revenue bonding has been removed at the beginning. And an update regarding outside counsel for 2025. The only thing that I have to report, and I don't know if you have anything other than what I have, we've had one person that's interested in the position and has volunteered to come in and speak with the president and the vice president before appearing before council for an open public discussion. And we've only had the one. So I can forward to everyone who that one person was. So at this point, I've done all I know to do to locate any others that might be interested. We were trying to stay local or within the county. I don't think that's going to be possible. So I can send everyone that information, then and get your suggestions on how you want to handle it moving forward.
I do have a question, Madam President. Just because, this is my first meeting. So has council decided how we're going to utilize our own outside counsel, or is that something we're still working out?
Well, it is basically going to be a retainer and be there if we need them.
Gotcha, so not like being there every
They will
night?
not be replacing the help that these two young ladies provide for us. They will not, we decided that they won't be at every meeting, they won't be scrutinizing the agenda. It'll be there if in fact there's ever a need for it.
Thank you, yeah, thank you.
Is that what everyone else understood that we had done? Okay, so I'll get that email out to everyone. I don't think that requires any kind of a vote. Anyone else? I have one final thing that I'd like to say.
You have that ordinance.
Oh, that's right. We added an ordinance. I'm sorry. The ordinance is to update the salary ordinance to reflect the changes that were made this evening, correct? No. No?
Is that what we got an email about this morning?
It's regarding those supplemental payments.
Yeah, I need time to pull up my email here.
I forgot about that.
Specialization.
Who wants to explain that? Okay. Sheena? And before you start, Sheena, I will say, I've talked to Sheena, I've talked to the auditor's office, and I don't know whether this has been ongoing for a couple of days, a few days. And honestly, I see it both ways. I think it probably is a misunderstanding, and I think it's pretty cut and dried both ways. But Sheena, if you would care to give the details and explain it for those, so they'll know what we're voting on here.
Of course.
And if anyone else afterwards has anything to say, absolutely, we can.
Sheena Johnson, Court Administrator. Back in February of 2024, Angela Morris came before you and requested a $6,000 additional appropriation that represented specialization pay for 3 employees, $2,000 apiece. That was approved 4-2. Ms. Burton and Mr. Dittmers voted against it at that time, I think for reasons that we won't go into, but have been kind of echoed tonight, right? We've had a moment, right? So after it was approved, we submitted documentation to the auditor's office to change the distribution account. The paperwork was submitted with a total of $2,000 at a rate of 1.27 per hour, which was calculated on 21 pays that were remaining in the year 2024 at that time. That paperwork was accepted by the payroll department. It turns out that the biweekly was calculated in the salary ordinance over 26 pays, which is a smaller amount. So my understanding is that there's a belief that there's a discrepancy between those two things, and the best way to reconcile that is the employees have already been paid the $2,000 roughly. There's a caveat to that as well, but the best way to rectify it would be to correct the error in the salary ordinance. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So the intent of the Angela Morris, when she presented, was for this to be a $2,000 specialty pay for the calendar year, not per pay. It's a $2,000 specialty pay bump.
She's right here, but I know, because I've asked her like 5 times in the last week, I know for a fact that she intended for each employee to receive $2,000 in the year 2024.
So that was the intent, and
That
then
was her
somewhere
intent.
along the lines, there was miscommunication or misunderstandings, and now there's a question about it. But just to be clear,
Correct.
the original intent was for this to be $2,000 for the calendar year.
Correct, which is
Thank
why
you.
we asked for the appropriation to be $6,000.
Right, that makes sense. I mean, it's logical. I can follow that.
Thank you.
I have a question. I understand it perfectly, and I have to say, I know exactly what you're saying, and that's pretty cut and dried. But the practice of the county, because of in the salary ordinance, is different than this, correct? And that's how we came about, am I correct in that? That's how we came about calculating it differently? Because it's always done on the 26 pays and not the 21 as requested and as.
Yeah, I can't answer to why it was calculated differently than the form that we submitted and why that wasn't brought to our attention.
Right, right. So I guess I'm asking Elizabeth, is
Since I've been in office, that's how we have done that. But it doesn't have on their retro, so that's how we did it.
yeah, it wasn't, when you go back and listen to the meeting, I don't think it was a retro request. I think it was just, so in my mind, I'm asking, if you had came in November and said, I want $2,000 for the year, would we have given them $2,000 for the year or just what was left in that year?
Just what was left in that year.
I don't know if that's a fair comparison, to be respectful.
No, but it clears it in my mind on what we're talking about here. It's apples to
Well,
oranges.
but if she would have come in November, how would you have phrased it? How would you have, I mean, would
I'm
you
not
have
sure.
put, instead of $1.27, it would have been something different presumably?
I don't know.
But according to her paperwork, the intent was for it to be the 21.
I brought copies for everyone if you'd like to
I
see it.
saw them.
Okay.
I saw
If I could, here's kind of where I
Absolutely.
landed on this, and I've talked to Amy and I've talked to Sheena, and the fact of the matter is, we're not talking about material amount. I think the intent was $2,000 for these people to get it. There's a drop dead date at the end of the year, so you can't carry that over to get to the other, 5 pays, whatever it was.
Right.
So if the intent was $2,000, and we're not talking about a material amount of money per employee, $350, $60.
Right.
In order to remedy it, we may have to do a clawback, which doesn't feel very good. To say, you know what, we overpaid you, therefore we're gonna figure out a way to make it right. For no more than it is where I landed, and as a practical matter, conceptually, I'm not sure what happened. As a practical matter, I'm not sure it's overly material, and I'd just soon get it behind us.
Well, I think the question is, I think when Michelle, hate to call it a misunderstanding or confusion, but it's exact, one person saw it one way, one person saw it another. And there is a policy in place for overpayment for the county to what they need to do, so, but I agree with you completely. I agree with you
Well, let
completely.
me ask one other, or just a comment for what we think about going forward is there a lesson to be learned in this as far as how we make sure that we don't, what we approve gets done the way that it's intended to be? Because I feel like that's the miss from a communication
I
standpoint.
think when you deal with 750 employees,
I understand.
you're gonna have human error, and it sounds to me like it may have been, I don't know if that was part of it or
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
It could be,
I don't
but
know
it
if
sort
we
of doesn't
were
matter,
in
yeah.
a good position to catch it, because it might, I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
believe
know.
there
I
was
don't
an
know where
error,
it
and
was.
the employees were getting paid what we requested them to get paid.
Yeah, to me, it seems like people that have more experience in that area were responsible for catching that. That goes to council, that goes to our council secretary, that goes to our auditor. That all should have been caught as it was presented. And I've heard it caught before at many other meetings over the years. And, oh, did you mean that to be retroactive back to da-da-da-da-da? And that comment usually comes from a member up here on council or a council secretary. I just hate to punish these employees for something that they had no fault in. The original intent was there for them to receive the specialty pay in its entirety. And I personally am in favor of leaving, I don't know exactly how this is written or being asked, but I think they should receive the $2,000 for the calendar year. They don't owe the county any money.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to say? If not, Michelle, is that a motion?
I don't know that I completely understand what is being requested because it came in an email this morning. So if the.
Is the ordinance saying that they receive the $2,000 for the year?
And they're done.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
There will be no
Could
callback.
could this possibly be a DLGF situation where we just need to ask them the question? What
No.
to do?
No, I don't
so.
think so.
It's just, the salary ordinance says they got less than they actually got. We can amend the salary ordinance to put it up to what they got, which was supposedly what they were intended to get.
Really wouldn't be a question for them.
Yeah, that would be my motion.
Okay.
To make the salary amendment and make the employees whole and be done with it.
And
And
that's
then
what-
just be more diligent moving forward, that we're watching for those particular cases as they come up and catch them at the time they're presented and not 10 months after the fact.
And that's what the ordinance basically states, except for the second half.
Yeah, the ordinance just, the original one said it was taken out of 26 phase, it had that, but that's not what was done or what was requested. So I'm correcting the ordinance to reflect what was actually done, so according to the SVOA, that will match, that there's no like
And then we're
there is no
good.
overpayment.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Graves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bates. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. I do have, everybody, are you coming to the podium, Andy? Are you done? Okay.
I did a lot more talking than I thought.
Yeah, I do have, before we adjourn, the
I'm
next.
sorry, I thought
It's
we were
all right.
done.
No, before we adjourn, our next regular meeting is February the 10th. No, I want to thank Mr. Mallers for his service as vice president to this council last year. He was absolutely a godsend for me. I thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I also want to thank this council for electing me as president, and truly honored for your trust and support, and I pledge to remain transparent and fair as possible and manage the taxpayer dollars and making decisions to the best interest of this community. But however, I do feel it's important to address something candidly. Prior to this election, there were instances where many individuals in high political positions were making calls to influence the decision of the president of this board. And those actions almost caused me not to accept the nomination. But despite those challenges, I decided to. And because I enjoy serving this community and I'm passionate about it, I do want to apologize that tonight's journey has gotten off to such a rocky start. Hopefully, moving forward, things will be a lot smoother. But I will promise you this, I am committed to doing everything I can do to represent the taxpayers with integrity, fairness, and accountability. So, and with that said, I'll accept the motion to be adjourned. Motion.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Congratulations.
Yeah.